The Democrats are required to open the government. They keep saying Republicans are in charge of government. We aren't, not in the Senate. 60 votes control the Senate, not a bare majority. And so point number one, Democrat votes are required to open the government.
I kept hearing from this guy who looks a lot like Donald Trump, who's that guy's boss, he's the mouthpiece for that president. I kept hearing him say he won in a landslide. I heard him say that he controls everything. I keep hearing him say he can do anything that he wants. And matter of fact, I've seen him break every rule that he can think of to do anything that he wants. But for some reason, suddenly right now, and the same guy who said he's welcoming the government shutdown so he can destroy more people's lives, fire more people, dismantle Democrat programs and agenda items. The guy who said all of that suddenly has no power. I'm gonna let him talk a little bit more extensively about, how he's not in power, but also extra excuses as to reasons why they can't do anything about this.
But even during the government shutdown, House committees could still meet, there could still be markups, there could still be oversight hearings, bills could still come to the floor. So why not do that rather than have members back home in their districts? Why not bring them back here and do the work that they were elected to do?
There cannot be a regular legislative session so long as the government is closed and Americans are feeling so much pain. We won't do that. Now, in the meantime, Republicans, I don't know what the Democrats are doing other than publicity stunts, but I can tell you the House Republicans are doing some of the most meaningful work of their careers. They are in their districts working around the clock with their constituents, helping them not only to negotiate the crisis that's been created by this Democrat shutdown, but all the other matters that they need to attend to. And I'm hearing from them individually. They are having some of the most meaningful interactions at a time of great crisis with their constituents that they've ever had. And that's really, really important. So I don't want to pull them away from that work right now when their insight and their counsel and their assistance and those of their staff, who, by the way, aren't getting paid soon, that is most essentially needed right now back home.
Mike Johnson wants people to believe that he sent all of the members, his Republican members, back home to do the most meaningful work that they've ever done. The most meaningful work they've ever done back at home? Can anyone ask him for some explanations or specific examples of the things that these people are doing at home that are so meaningful? They're meeting with people and they're talking to constituents. Are they really? Every time they have town hall meetings, which is the best forum to talk to as many constituents as possible back at home, they get yelled out of the room. They get asked questions like, why did you sign on to this spending bill that steals more money from regular Americans and gives it to rich people? And then Mike Johnson told them not to go to those anymore. He thinks we don't remember anything that he's said, but he says the things every day. The guy doesn't stop lying. He's sleazy. He calls himself Moses. And actually, this is why I'm glad I ran across this. There are some actual religious leaders. I'm not sure why this still happens, but I decided to go ahead and play some of it. This is the Senate chaplain. His name is Barry Black. Admiral, I believe, Barry Black. He had some words about the government shutdown as he was, quote, praying.
Eternal God, our King, when our children and grandchildren want to know what we were doing in the 119th Congress during the famous shutdown, may we not have to give these answers. I helped set a new record for keeping the government closed. I failed to appeal to the better angels of my nature. I forgot Matthew 7:12, which states, "Do to others whatever you would like them to do to you." This is the essence of all that is taught in the law and prophets. Lord, remind our lawmakers that no gold medals are given for breaking shutdown records, but a crown of righteousness is given to those who take care of the lost, last, and least. We pray in your loving name. Amen.
Listen, bro. Rear Admiral Barry Black is kind of pissed. I get the feeling that he's upset. You can be a man of God and be upset. He wrote down that prayer. I mean, they probably usually do, but he's like, I'm going to get through every bit of this and talk about how you guys can't be winning gold medals, but a crown. I mean, I feel like my man was preaching. I mean, it's dry and a little bit boring as it was. I did grow up in the church. My man he had a sermon to give. I wonder if he talks to Moses, to ask if he gives a damn about any of that either. This whole I'm a Christian thing and I pray every time a child gets shot in a school and therefore I'm not going to do anything about it. It's starting to fall really, really flat because we're starting to see the emptiness in your prayers. Because I never believed these guys prayed about any of that stuff. They just said it so they can move along and get away from those cameras and then shed that responsibility that they're supposed to have. So that's the religious aspect of the loss that these Republicans are taking in this government shutdown. I like what Senator Ruben Gallego was doing, though. He went on CNBC, talked to Joe Kernan. I mean, argued with Joe Kernan.
By the way, how can I negotiate? The president's in Asia for 5 days. Johnson's basically keeping his the House of Representatives out till January to stop, and protect pedophiles. So who am I negotiating with right now? The person I'm talking to right now is everyday Americans who are worried that they're going to have their insurance rates doubled overnight because Republicans refuse to act. So they're screwing up on tariffs, they're raising inflation, and now they're going to go ahead and raise your premiums.
The Republicans are refusing to be blackmailed and held hostage into what Democrats want. Mike Johnson doesn't need to do anything.
But Democrats, that's what I want is 24 million Americans. I want 24 million Americans to have inflation. No.
Okay,
24 million Americans want their insurance.
We're finished.
Healthy and affordable insurance.
I appreciate it.
You too. Have a good one.
Okay.
Have you back.
Okay, so this bullshit argument that Joe Kernan tries to push to be like, Republicans aren't going to be held hostage by these Democrats. It's time to go back and start talking about, this is why this stage has been set. Ruben Gallego can bring up the millions of Americans that are dealing with the fear that they've now got in their hearts about what they're going to do next. You could always before say it's just Democrats versus Republicans and these elected officials going at each other. And I can't believe your team is doing that against my team. These talking points that you can go through and talk about what's happening between a couple of politicians falls flat when you can then bring up the number of Americans, the people who vote your ass in, the people who pay taxes in this country aren't feeling so good about what it is that's happening. That's why Joe Kernan said, well, fine by then, because I have no more arguments left. That's why this party, this MAGA party, is losing this argument because your president is attacking more people. I'm not sure how they didn't see that coming. Like it makes it really easy. Here's Representative Jason Crow, another Democrat.
Listen, Democrats have already decided to come to the table. That was on day one. We've always been at the table. They have literally, ineffectively shut the doors and shut us out. Donald Trump himself said, don't deal with the Democrats. Don't even talk to them. He went on Fox and Friends and said that specifically. That was his order to Mike Johnson. So I have been here for 7 years now. Every single year, we've passed a bipartisan funding bill when we've passed it, and that is the only way out, right? It has to be bipartisan, and it also has to have guardrails in place because of what this president has shown himself to be and to do in the last 10 months, which is disregard Congress, disregard the law, spend money however he wants to spend it. Right? I have an obligation to my constituents and to this country and Constitution not to give a blank check to a president who's willing to spend money however he wants. That's not how the Constitution works. So we are here. Our door is open. We're ready to negotiate. That is the only way out of this. But Donald Trump has to come home from his overseas trip. He has to stop focusing on the plans and the blueprints for his $200 million ballroom. He has to stop buying $170 million of jets for Kristi Noem. He has to stop wasting all the money that he's wasting, buying cattle from Argentina to bail out one of his strongman friends and undermine the U.S. cattle market. He has to stop all of that, and he has to tell Mike Johnson to come to the table so we can fix this.
When your leader does this many despicable things to the American people, and your job as Mike Johnson and the rest of this MAGA Republican Party is to keep sanitizing it, you run out of options. You run out of excuses. It's very easy to bring up Kristi Noem's 2 jets. It's very easy to bring up Donald Trump's constant golf trips. It's very easy to bring up the fact that he's trying to build this $300 million bunker underneath the White House where he's going to go hide out while he bombs the country. All I'm saying is when you're dealing with a guy who this Republican Party from the beginning said he's a disaster, and then you become a disaster with him, I don't know how you don't see yourself losing this battle. Now, people like Josh Hawley, another Republican, he's in Missouri, he's a senator. This is their next stage of trying to figure this out. This is on his own page. He said Hawley introduces legislation to fund food stamps and farm programs during government shutdown. Wow, that sounds good. Republican Josh Hawley, who's usually really bad on things. This is the post. Since the Democrats refuse to fund the government, I'm introducing legislation to reinstate SNAP benefits immediately, even during the government shutdown. Missourians shouldn't go hungry because of the left's incompetence. Our kids deserve to eat. So as you can see, Josh Hawley's plan here is to try and do something to save so many of his poor constituents from dealing with the issues that his president has laid upon them, because part of these cuts that they all celebrated and made as soon as Elon Musk's dumbass came in and started slashing and spending as they've been doing ever since this MAGA administration got started, their people are suffering. And he has to find a way to, first off, address that, help them so he doesn't look bad, but then also still blame Democrats. It kind of sucks to be in that position. He's been in that position before. As soon as I saw him post that, I was like, I remember when Josh Hawley was begging Kristi Noem to jet Kristi Noem for some FEMA assistance, because again, Josh Hawley represents poor Missourians.
Commit to helping for those 3 major disaster declaration requests that are pending. Will you help expedite those, Secretary Noem, and get those in front of the president, get those approved? We are desperate for the assistance in Missouri.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank
Make
you.
sure the application gets to the White House as soon as possible.
Fantastic. Thank you. And can I also have your commitment that if and when the president approves a major disaster declaration for this storm that just happened on Friday in St. Louis, will you expedite as much as possible FEMA individual assistance for those who qualify for it in the St. Louis area?
Yes.
And I want to tell you just how important that is, because as I toured these streets and walked and talked to the residents, what I heard over and over is many of these folks don't have insurance.
Yeah.
Many of these folks, they either got their homes from a family member, or they bought them from a family member, so they don't have a mortgage on the property, and therefore they don't have homeowners insurance. So, as you know, having been a governor, in many instances, FEMA assistance is going to be the only assistance.
Isn't it weird how Josh Hawley's poor constituents that have no insurance, that have homes that were handed down, that are living out of trailers, isn't it weird that suddenly they should be helped out, and assistance was his favorite word? Assistance, 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 assistance. Suddenly assistance is something that the American people deserve. I'm sorry, only Josh Hawley's constituents deserve, where he begged Kristi Noem for some help after Donald Trump ran on raiding FEMA and all of its funds and saying, F you to all of you guys. I'm sorry, he said all of you blue state people, because they've convinced themselves that they're better than someone else when they're in the exact same situation, and in many cases, worse situations than the people that they're looking down on. But the problem Josh Hawley's got with that whole pitch and saying, I'm saving SNAP benefits, I'm going to introduce this bill, which good, they should introduce a bill. They should do something about it. They should pay those SNAP benefits for everyone that's in need of them. The problem is his own party keeps kicking him in the nuts. The leader in the Senate, John Thune, says, we'll have conversations with our members about steps we'll be taking forward. But my view is, you want to pay SNAP recipients? Open the government. It's not complicated. He also said that the administration is looking at what they can do legally and what they have the capacity to do to pay SNAP beneficiaries. He talked to Trump last night. It sucks for you there, Josh Hawley, when you post about how the Democrats won't let you do anything so you can introduce this. But your buddy, who's the leader of your party in that same body that you belong to, said, man, please, we're not doing that. It's almost like, their true colors for Republicans is that they never give a damn about any of this. And the folks who act like they do, like Josh Hawley, they're acting like they do so that they don't feel the political consequences. And I'm sure both parties have a lot of blame to go around on this. The problem is the policies are either really bad or really, really bad, because these Republicans control this.